Are the Bears a lock for
Ooh,
Caleb Williams?
you know, I I've been thinking about this. I don't want to say that's the case because this happens every year. It does. Where you know it. I can think of the team every year if I go back and look at the standings, where there's always that team where the narrative becomes like, those are certainly the guys. Like, those are the guys that'll be picking number one. And then some stupid shit will happen in the last few weeks, last 4 or 5 weeks. And something they win 2 games, they end up winning a few, and you're like, what's happening? And then some team that you didn't even expect ends up at the very bottom. But I, you know, I think all things are pointing towards. I'm not going to say it's guaranteed, but all things are pointing towards that the Panthers are going to be the team that's there at the bottom of that list. I don't think it's either going to be you guys or the Panthers kind of thing. But I think you guys can safely kind of bet on the Panthers with the way things are leaning their season, especially looking that they're probably going to be trading out Brian Burns soon. Any type of real talent they have on the roster is going to be looking out the door for the future. So once that happens, it's going to be really hard for the Panthers to pull out a game this year.
So,
Uh,
yeah.
unless they pull it out against you guys, at which case it still helps you out regardless. It's kind of like, yeah, the Bears have the safest shot, though, I'll say, of any of the teams that we've ever been like, those are the ones. The Bears
Yeah.
have an extra safe spot being that they also suck and the team that they need getting it from really sucks.
So this is how I kind of looked at it. I kind of looked at it in a different aspect. I kind of looked at it as like with them losing this game that was very winnable in my opinion. This kind of solidifies the end of like Justin Fields in Chicago. Because my thing is not because of how he played, but because he got hurt. And my thing is like I think this game said more about the coaching than it did about Justin Fields. But my thing is with Justin Fields, like unfortunately, if he wanted to stay in Chicago, like he had to play like he played versus Denver and Washington, and then also stay healthy. If he's out for 2 to 3 weeks, even a month, like 2 weeks maybe, but a month, it's like at that point you're not able to stay. You're not able to prove yourself where they feel comfortable and evaluate. Like they will probably ship you out at the end of the year and take Caleb Williams because it's just like it's too unreliable to try and base what little success you've seen with him and then project that over the long term. It's just not going to work. And the Bears played ugly this game. It feels like they forgot what they learned in that Washington game. They didn't roll Justin out, anything like that. And the defense played good, but unfortunately, with Fields getting hurt, I think, I don't really have much hope. And the fact that the coaching staff rolled this team out like they did the first 3 weeks of the season, like should show you that they have a way that they want to run things. And as soon as things work, they're like, okay, now we get a little bit more leash to do what we want, even if it doesn't work. And it's just like, you guys got to go. Like it's bad.
No, absolutely. And so I want to like turn this into kind of another talk because this is I've noticed that the talk around the Bears nowadays has kind of been like, well, these last 2 games with Caleb Williams kind of has a lot of Bears fans concerned with Caleb, right? I don't want
I
to even
don't.
use the
I
word a
don't.
lot. I'll say I've seen a fair share of Bears fans that are kind of on the train now, like, oh no, like, and it's the ones that are very high on Justin.
Justin's
But
been doing this the whole time.
that's this no this is why I have to go on a little mini rant here because this is where I'm getting a little bit confused with how people are looking at this. Because actually, no, I'm getting incredibly mad because I'm going to tell it to you like this. As a Saints fan, right? If I was in the situation you guys were in, I would not be sitting here like defending my starter and rooting for my starter to keep their job. I would be like certain bent on like, dude, no, like this is the guy. And it's crazy because this is why I don't Bears fans need to go back. This is what Bears fans need to do right now. You need to go back and watch every snap of Mahomes back his like last couple years at Texas Tech. And what you'll see is, trust me, this is what's crazy is you'll see he wasn't the guy you see nowadays yet. Now that might be crazy to believe. It might be crazy to believe that what you're drafting is the player's skill set and then not the exact player at the time because they grow and they develop and you teach habits, but then you retain the skills that they already had that you liked. So my thing is nowadays, bro, sorry, I just had an alarm go off.
No,
It's
you're
kind
good.
of like, how are Bears fans not seeing the vision of like, we're taking the skill set and we're going to coach in the pocket awareness and we're going to coach in. And let me be clear with the coaching staff now, fuck no. I'm not talking about none of these guys. Scrap every single one of them. All of them. All of them. O-line coach, receiver, done. Done. This coaching staff is an inept garbage dump. However, that's the point. Is Caleb is the type of guy that you put the right staff around him. Oh, I guarantee it's not even a question. It's not. There's nothing questioned about it. It's a matter of getting him to develop. Yes, do the Bears have those guys now? Fuck no. But is keeping those guys and keeping Justin the recipe for the future? Absolutely fucking not. Bears fans have got to screw their head on, realize that this team has been run by morons for an eternity, and the only thing that can save you guys at this point is a completely new staff. Poles is in question. Whatever. Poles probably keeping his job, but Poles has to bring in a perfect staff, right? But on top of that, y'all have got to take Caleb because taking a guy like Caleb can erase the last 50 years of trash. And if y'all, it's my thing is if Bears fans can't see that at this point, I don't even know what to say. And that's just my mini rant for the day.
No, yeah, and that's something that is very frustrating. Because it's like at the end of the day, at the end of the day, like you have whether or not Justin becomes successful after this year in the NFL, it's not going to happen in Chicago, in my opinion. I think he needs a new change of scenery. I'm okay with Poles staying around. I mean, like, he set us up with 2 draft picks, and he has done well in terms of accumulating capital. He's made some bad moves, but overall, I think, in my opinion, the pros outweigh the cons. So Caleb Williams has one bad game. Oh my God. Justin has had horrible games, regardless if that's him or the situation or anything. Like, the reality is he's had multiple of those games, and we can't have that. That can't keep happening. So, my thing is get a new coach, get a new quarterback. Then it's like, then we're all good. We can reset. We get an offensive minded head coach. We're good to go. Okay. So, moving in just to Minnesota side, I'm just going to go on Minnesota, and then you can go real quick. Um, Minnesota outcoached the Bears at every level, even without Justin Jefferson, like KJ Osborne, Jordan Addison, like they played. And I feel like the game really switched when TJ Edwards, when that fumble recovery, which was inbounds, was overturned. I think that's when we knew the game was over. And I think the players felt that too. Um, and they dialed up pressure on Justin and they shut down the offense. The coaching staff didn't have an answer. They didn't bring in an extra tight end, chip the rushers, like anything like that. They just let Justin figure it out. And like that just goes back to the coaching staff. I mean, the Vikings are definitely not a 1-5 team, and they beat us today. So, well, they were 1-4. Basically, I was saying, they're better than having one win right now. So my thing is like I think they might pick up a couple games now going forward, which is good because I really did not want Caleb Williams in division if they were that bad. So, but yeah, no, I mean this Vikings offense is just it's interesting, man. I don't really know what their future is like because I don't see them trading Kirk Cousins. Do you think they trade Kirk Cousins? Like, what do you think?
Again, I think I'm like where I'm mulling it over, but again, if you don't pull the trigger before this deadline, right? That's where it comes. I think the Vikings are very much in the territory of, and again, I've been in this position as a fan base a couple years ago, right? Like I know the feeling when you really should know it's time to pull the plug on something, but you're just not absolutely ready to give it up yet. And you're like, no, there's still, they're like, there's still a fighting hope we can turn this around this year. But if this, and this happens this year, but the reality of the situation is that really never happens. Like, yeah, I can point out a few times it's happened, but again, the reality is it very rarely does. So now we're in a position where, yes, the Vikings ownership group, their fan base, I think they're still holding on to that same thread that we've talked about. A few other fan bases are. But again, us being realists, having no ties to the team, it's much easier to come to the conclusion of, look, the future is so much brighter if you just pull the plug now, if you make the decision now. But then also during that same territory, if you don't make it right now and you don't get the value when it's peak value, what is going to happen? I agree with you. I don't know where they're going to go from here if they don't make some right of this now.
Do you think that they will? Do you think that they will move up to go get a quarterback if they can. If they can move up to get Drake May, do you think they will use that? Do you think they'll use draft capital to go get him?
Well, absolutely. But also, it's like that's kind of the problem, I guess, that it comes to with the Vikings is I don't know. I guess I'm weighing it out, but it's also like, you know, I guess pretty fairly, you already have a good old line around the man. So yeah, it would be like you could trade up and you already have a
They're
good old line around him,
they're
and then you could
grading
build
really
around that
well.
contract. That probably is going to be the best case scenario for the Vikings this year. Is going to be trading up, relying on the fact that you're going to be able to re-sign Jettas. You already have the line, and then plug in plug in a couple new D tackles. Kind of figure out the D line. I'd say the Vikings are not fully far away from being competitive again. But yeah, at this point, there's no doubt it's going to come down mainly and far away to figuring out the quarterback situation now and stop pushing it off because they have been pushing it off for the first 6 games. And if they push it off to the deadline and they don't make the play, now it's done.
Yeah, I also think it's like something along the lines of like, and we can move on after this. Um, if they don't go get a quarterback, what is the incentive for Jettas to stay there?
Well, it's the thing.
He's going to get paid wherever.
Besides the fact that they could basically say, "Look, I'm going to give you the most, and you don't have to move." Not, yeah, and that's the thing is when you're in a situation like that, it's I guess what you have to ask yourself is if you're Jettas is like, do the extra few M's that you're going to get from them matter more than being able to choose where you want to go and where you want to play? This thing is, he's either someone who really operates and likes to stay in the same home base and is very loyal in terms of personality, or he's going to be somebody that has no issue kind of, switching over. And I'm not saying there's anything right or wrong about either decision. I'm just saying we're going to definitely find out something about Jettas based off of what decision he makes here.